Hey everybody, welcome to the ZBN podcast. I'm your host, Spigel. With me today, I have Hextupa U Dot.
Hey, hi, howdy ho, hey, hi.
Okay, and also I have a new special guest on the show today. Zyber cannot be with us again. He is doing special things today. So instead, as his replacement, we have Nick. Nick from the IGN Zelda boards is here.
Hi, and for those wondering, it's Stash on the boards. But
yeah, Stash on the boards, but he just wants to be called Nick because unlike us, he is a normal human being.
Yeah.
So
far.
Yeah. So we've kind of been just taking a little break from the show. We were off last week. We didn't do anything. The problem right now is that video game news, like all video game companies, have kind of been really quiet on any announcements. There hasn't been like anything to talk about really, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So it's been difficult to try to come up with ideas of stuff to talk about. But finally, we have a few things to talk about today. And some of them would probably have been better served as being a Minish recap, but let's just forget about that and move on to the news. Okay, the first big thing actually broke this morning. This is, we're recording on February 28th, 2015. I don't think it was particularly substantial, but they said, I'm so unprepared. Sonic will be returning to home consoles at some point. So back like probably about a month ago, there was a report that said that Sega was going to be getting rid of like its console division. But the head of the Sonic team said today that Sonic will appear once again on home consoles at some point.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I think we all kind of expected that to happen. I mean, with Sega's various franchises, Sonic is the one that actually still makes money compared to, like, Sonic and Super Monkey Ball seem to be their big ones, but a lot of their other franchises have kind of died away. But Sonic, I feel like, is the one franchise that could float their whatever console business they have left in them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like people see Sonic as worth rescuing, even when Sega's ready to dismantle everything. They're like, well, we can't get rid of him. It's
funny how Sonic has like kind of become this. It's almost like a separate thing from Sega at this point. Like, people don't care about Sega. They just want Sonic to be okay.
Yeah.
It's not like Nintendo. Like Nintendo, you associate with Mario, but do you really associate Sega with Sonic at this point? Like, it's sort of just. It's almost like it's become its own thing.
I do, but I always think about it in like a historical sense, like, you know, years ago when they had consoles still, or maybe the first few years of when they went third party. Doesn't feel like there's much of Sega left anymore.
Yeah. Sonic is like the remnant of their past selves as a game developer and as a company.
Okay, so we've now opened the show with our traditional Sonic bashing, so go ahead and click that dislike button and then get ready to move it over to the like button, because we got a good show for you today, I think. So we got that out of the way. One other piece of news I saw today, this is kind of like, it's kind of nothing, but it's interesting. There was a display at a GameStop store in Italy that showed the box art for Zelda U, or at least the tentative box art for Zelda U, and it had a release date for spring 2015.
Really?
So I don't know. It probably means nothing.
Sounds like nothing to me, but I feel like there must be some sort of underground network of GameStop employees who set out to stir up trouble by putting stupid tentative release dates on things. Like,
I'm sure
they can
that's
be
the
really
case.
absurd sometimes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was really just going to say the same thing, that like companies at this point know that just saying whatever they want will get them the attention they need. So whenever if it's a company you've never heard of before, like a small store, I'm always more suspicious of that.
Well, this is GameStop, so it's not like, well, I mean, they've also done stuff in the past that's like, well, that ended up not being.
I missed it was GameStop. I think because of the location, I was thinking it was a different, like, subsidiary or something like that.
But you're right, though. It's not like GameStop hasn't done anything like this before. Like, I remember back in the days before Brawl even came out, back in 2008, I went into a store and I saw the tentative box art, and Bowser Jr. was on it. Yep. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Like, not even a grain of salt, like a boulder of salt. Like, like I don't even know how to proceed from that. So, okay, so that's enough of that. Last piece of news. This was actually probably the most interesting one, I thought, was couple days ago, a company called Tantalus, who was responsible for porting Mass Effect 3 and Deus Ex Human Revolution to Wii U, said that they are still working on their title that they announced way back in January of 2014 that was a port from next-gen systems to the Wii U. And they said that it was the biggest project they've ever worked on. It's a AAA title, and it's not rated M.
Oh, it's not Batman. That sucks.
When they say next-gen, does that refer to Xbox One and PS4?
I would assume that's what it means, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me if that's what it does mean.
I don't think they would have used the term next gen if they were referring to PS3 and Xbox 360 because they've been out way too long for anyone to mean that for a port to the Wii U. Like, even with all the arguments about its power, it's considered a newer generation in those systems.
Well, what do you guys think about this? Like, what game do you think it could be then if you don't think it's a PS3 or Xbox 360 game?
I started shouting Batman, but then you reminded me it's not M, and so I don't know now because that's the only one I thought would be worth really important.
Batman is not rated M.
It was announced as that, wasn't it?
Well, the newest one, yeah, but the older Batman games.
I thought it was a port of a game that wasn't necessarily released yet.
The way I see it is they announced it in January of 2014 as being a port, which implies to me that the game had to have come out before that time period, so it had to be before 2014.
Well, how many
came
next-gen games have been out since January?
So it's a very confusing kind of...
Maybe. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the term, it's dicey, because in advertising, I guess that's what port is supposed to mean, but in literal terms, it just means they're adapting it from one hardware to another. The game doesn't necessarily have to be released for it to be true.
So it could be a thing where the game is in development, and they're just taking longer with the Wii U version to port, so during the process of creating the game, they could release the Xbox One and PS4 versions well before they release the Wii U versions, which might be what's happening here.
One other thing that the article said was that the game would be coming out this year. So I don't know. I just instead of do you want to speculate on this, or do you want to kind of just move on from it? I mean, because I was thinking maybe Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. Or maybe the Kingdom Hearts remix games. That seems to be what a lot of people are thinking.
I'm not familiar with any of these JRPGs, and I don't know what kind of audience they have. But it seems like the Final Fantasy franchise is far more tied to Sony than any other console manufacturer. So I don't know if that's...
Kingdom Hearts is too for main releases, but with all the attention it does get on portables, that one doesn't seem totally unlikely to me.
But I mean, think of the market for Wii U. Like, how many people own one, and why would someone want to port a game like that to Wii U? Would it actually benefit them at all?
I think Kingdom Hearts would sell. I think Kingdom Hearts would sell very well on Wii U. Final Fantasy, I don't know, but if they were to release, now we're arguing about what they meant when they say next gen. But if they were to release Kingdom Hearts HD Remix 1.5 or 2.5 or whatever on Wii U, I think that would be a big financial success for them. They'd probably sell 1 million units. There's a lot of people interested in those types of games who own Wii U's. So that's my perception of it anyway. I
don't have a ton more to say about it.
When I first read this, I thought like, oh, they're doing Destiny, and then I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, and nobody would buy it. Yeah. So
Destiny definitely would not happen.
Like, not a good time for it either. It's not really doing so well in the media. If you read stories about it, it's usually negative. Like, they patched out something people liked, or it's just a complaint in general. It's not something Nintendo would want.
This generation has been really interesting in the sense of like game reviews, how they've been like really good straight off. Like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare got really good reviews when it came out, and then like a couple months later, people are just like, yeah, whatever. It seems like a lot of the games are just falling by the wayside this generation. It happened with Titanfall, kind of happened with Destiny.
Did it happen with Call of Duty? How have the sales been for that? Because I know with Titanfall, it was a steep decline. But Call of Duty sort of like has a system of big media explosion, and then the sales just they continue, and then they start the cycle over.
Well, I think it's partially because it's not a new IP. It's established. I work at a game retail store, so I see this every day. Like I probably sell at least one copy every time I work. And we are always having sales on it, so it's like people are enticed to buy it just because it's cheaper. It's not new. They recognize the name. So, but I'm talking about in the I guess the gaming industry in general. Like nobody has written an article about Call of Duty since December.
Yeah, but what is there to say about Call of Duty? Exactly. I mean, it's just like it's just a fact of life at this point.
Well, I'm just saying that people people in the industry seem to be losing interest at a much more rapid pace than they had in the past. And I'm not sure if that's
true. Although the numbers are still pretty high, so I think we have a lot of years left before that particular train slows down for real. But I don't know. I'm not sure how we got here. I started thinking about Call of Duty on Wii U again. I don't know if that would happen.
You know what? I don't think that's likely. Just because I don't think the market is really there. I never played Black Ops 2 or Ghosts on Wii U, but from what I understand, the online community was decent, but it sort of kind of went away. Like, I remember I bought Madden 13 on Wii U probably about 6 months ago just because I wanted to play it and see like what they added for the gamepad that was like special features. And I went online to play and there were like 10 people playing and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for a lot of games. I've tried to play Assassin's Creed 4 online. I don't want to get too much off topic though.
Well, we've been doing that like the last 4 episodes, so we're pretty much, that's to be expected.
But I mean,
I think at this point.
Given Tantalus's track record of the various kinds of games that they've actually been involved with, it's really anyone's guess what they're actually porting because they've got a wide variety of things that they've touched. Like from Deus Ex to Funky Barn. So,
I was about to mention Funky Barn actually because
so they did the Deus Ex port. I didn't know that before.
Yeah, they did Mass Effect 3 and Deus Ex for Wii U. Both games were very well received as Wii U ports, so I think whatever it is will probably be worth checking out just in the sense that they seem to know what they're doing when it comes to ports and giving the Wii U exclusive like, you know, more care and attention than a generic third-party developer would.
Hey, Funky Barn got a lot of it had a lot of community in Miiverse. There were a lot of people talking about Funky Barn. Like,
so
spoilers,
anyway,
the barn isn't that funky.
Do they have like a slap? Do they have a slap bass or something? Is it like a?
I have no idea what the game is even about. Pedals? I just know that it had a large Miiverse presence for a little while there as a joke mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like people were just making fun of the game, but like pretending that it's amazing or something like that. So it's like, this is the funkiest barn that I've ever experienced in my life.
That's kind of funny.
Well, so and kind of continuing, the reason I was going to mention Funky Barn was because they also announced that they were working on porting a Wii U exclusive game to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And the only two that I was really able to come up with that I think they would do would be Funky Barn and Zombie U. And I was imagining playing Zombie U on Xbox One and thinking, wow, this is awful. Like without the gamepad, that game is nothing.
Yeah, how would you do that without requiring someone to own a tablet that can hook up that way?
I mean, are there any notable other like third-party games on Wii U that were exclusive? I mean, Zombie U is the one that comes to mind for me, but I can't think of other
Lego City
Undercover
Undercover was another one that I thought of. That doesn't seem to be too likely in the minds of a lot of people, though, because I'm looking around for anything regarding Lego City, and I can't find anyone suggesting that maybe that's the game that they're porting.
I could kind of see that happening, though. I mean, the Lego franchise is a huge franchise, so that could be. I mean, it was well received. It seems it got some pretty decent reviews.
Yeah, decent reviews, yeah.
This is all
so maybe
official announcement, right? That they're definitely porting from the Wii U and
yes, this was from Tantalus directly.
Okay.
So I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see in the coming. I mean, I don't know when we're going to get this show up. By the time you hear this, they might have already announced it, because they did say it would be within the next week probably. So we'll hurry and try to get this up.
PAX East is starting in less than a week as well, so maybe they'll announce it there.
Woo! More Splatoon.
Yes.
Get to see some
I do
more
hope that
Splatoon
they announce some sort of new thing at PAX, just because it's been a while since we've gotten any word from Nintendo on anything. So I imagine that's the only reason they've been quiet. It's because they anticipate showing something at PAX East or something like that. That's my hope.
So real quick, before we talk about the future of Nintendo, I want to just go back and take a look at February, because like I said, we're recording this on the last day of February. Pretty big month for Nintendo. The new 3DS, we've all played with it, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
What are your?
I have not even touched it yet.
You haven't even touched it yet?
No, I don't even have a new 3DS yet. I meant to buy one, but I've been busy.
Too busy being famous with your Rayman stuff and Smashified. Go check out Artsy Omni's channel, because he does some really cool stuff, and I'm a big fan. So I'm totally geeking out. I finally get to talk to you.
Right.
So Nick, what were your impressions of the new 3DS and Majora's Mask? Like, do you think it's a big improvement? You would like recommend it to people?
Well, it's always interesting recommending someone pay $200 for what amounts to relatively small incremental upgrades. But as a whole experience, it's definitely worth having. Like, it's a significant improvement. Being able to use motion control and 3D at the same time feels like the point of Ocarina of Time 3D, which they couldn't do then. So I'm glad Majora's Mask can do it.
Yeah, I think the face tracking 3D is like such a huge improvement. I'm playing literally all of my 3D games with the 3D on now, and it's just like, wow, we really missed out on this in the original 3DS. Like, it was a fun concept, and 3DS has some great games, so I don't regret my original purchase. But if you don't have a 3DS yet, like, what are you waiting for? You know, as Reggie said, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. So, it is really good.
Yeah.
Everything on here I would consider an improvement, except for, of course, the complaint everyone has about the SD card, which admittedly was not a problem for very long. You don't have to change that frequently.
Yeah, it's not like you're changing the SD card like every month, you know. It's just it's pretty much a one-time thing. I haven't even changed mine just because I don't feel the need to right now. I don't download a lot of games like you do, so.
Yeah.
But as for one last thing, as for Majora's Mask 3D, just your thoughts on that? I know mine, but.
I like everything about it that's been changed so far. I think it's a really excellent modern take on a game that was made 15 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree. So they somehow... at first I was uncomfortable with a lot of the changes, and then I played the game and I'm like, you know what? These were all for the better, except for the swimming, which is still weird to me. But everything, like they somehow managed to make a great game even better. And if you've never played Majora's Mask, or like if you played it before and you were like intimidated by it, I seriously suggest you give it another chance, because it's a really fantastic Zelda game. Of course, we're all really big Zelda fans, so we'd tell you that about anything. But Majora's Mask 3D is spectacular, and I recommend it to literally anybody who plays video games. So that was the month of February, and we're ready to move on, right? Because February was a very quiet month, despite all the releases and stuff. Like, we had a Nintendo Direct back in mid-January, and there's just been nothing since in terms of news. Like, everything was in that Nintendo Direct, and then it held us for like a month, and now it's just like, I'm ready for something new. You know, they've been like completely radio silent, and it's been weird, because usually they don't go completely quiet. So I don't know. Do we think they're doing a Nintendo Direct soon?
Well, I do think that they're going to announce something at PAX East, and that's probably why we haven't had a Nintendo Direct in a while. And honestly, I feel like they probably burnt out a bit with all of the stuff that they preemptively announced last E3, so I'm guessing that's why they're kind of silent right now, because they took the lock off of a lot of information that they might not have if the Wii U was doing well. So that's kind of my take on it.
I know that this time last year, or a couple weeks ago this time last year, we were getting a Nintendo Direct, and instead of that, we got a brand new system and a couple games. So in terms of the purpose of the Direct is to get news out, but I don't really feel like, going off of what you said about being burnt out, like, that probably takes quite a bit of internal effort to put those together, the amount of coordination you need between all those different teams. And with already releasing other products, I think they could go all the way till the end of March before they have any more Directs. They might have news press releases, but I don't know if they'll...
Now, see, for a month and a period of time when they have so many games releasing, this is a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about. March has 3 kind of high-profile-ish Nintendo games releasing, and that's Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars, Mario Party 10, and Codename Steam for the 3DS. Now, like, those games they're not like AAA, like, huge, exciting titles to get hyped over, but they're all kind of they all kind of have a presence in the month, right? Like, so I expect to see some marketing from Nintendo, but after that, it's like Splatoon in May. That's it. Like, we got to get some information, some news. I don't care if it's a Nintendo Direct. I just want some news.
Mario Kart DLC is in May, so if we're going to get
I forgot about that,
information, then it's going to be on that. And then, of course, we have to consider that there's, in my opinion, a 100% chance of the Smash DLC arriving at the very end of April or first 2 weeks of May, and probably not any later than that, because it's going to, right after Club Nintendo ends, there's going to be Mewtwo distribution and then whatever other features they promised.
They did do a pretty good job with pacing this year, huh? Like, better than years past. Like, they kind of just have a little something like every couple weeks, and it's like, oh, look, there's a new thing, and it's just kind of constant not like super hype excitement, but just like oh yay, I want to play this. I want to play Mario versus Donkey Kong next week, and we're going to.
They're creating an expectation that regularly checking back with Nintendo, there'll always be something new for you to buy,
which they have not had in the past.
Well, not without much greater periods of time between that being true.
At least for Wii U, yeah. So I'm just going to ask you guys real quick, what are you most excited for in March of those 3 games that I mentioned?
For me, probably Mario Party, just because I'm not super interested in playing Codename Steam at this time, but I mean, I probably will give it a shot, or maybe watch some footage of it once it gets released and see if it's something that's up my alley. But Mario Party 10, I haven't played a Mario Party game in years, really. I haven't owned one since 4, and I've played a bit of 6, or no, I think it was 8. Whichever, the first one that was on the Wii I played. And then
they're really all the same after 2 anyway.
One of them.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's maybe time for me to try it out again now that it's under new management, and after the criticism 9 received, maybe they've fixed some of the problems that I saw with that, so I'm interested in trying it out.
As for Mario Party, like I will also say I'm super excited for. Well, I'm not. I'm probably more excited than you are, but I had some friends over last night for the first time in like months, and we were playing. We played Wii Party U, and we were so tired, and everything was just so funny that I have a feeling that Mario Party 10 is just going to go over really well with this group of friends. So I'm really excited to play it with them.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends too that aren't really gamers per se, but they enjoy playing games like Nintendo Land with us, and we always have a blast doing that. So if it's more of that kind of thing, then I'm definitely going to enjoy it.
Nick?
I think I honestly am most excited for the Tipping Stars, but really only because of the cross-buy, right? I just need that feature in general.
Well, let's be specific. It's not officially cross-buy, right? It's you buy it and then they give you a download code to get it for free on the other platform. But
it's not cross-buy in the sense that we expect it to be, where it's literally the same store and it's telling you that you've now purchased this for 2 games. But it's in effect they're going for the same thing, and it's a sign of what I want to see more of.
It's progress, which is something that Nintendo does. For all of Nintendo's good things, progress is not something they do super well in terms of technological internet advancements and all that stuff.
When we're talking about the rate of progress, maybe not, but they do give pretty clear signs when they're headed in a direction, and they don't, unless it's like a huge disaster, like Virtual Boy, even then they just try again later, see 3DS. So I think we'll see like a real cross-buy solution within a year because of this game.
I think you're right. So real quick, I just want to ask our viewers a question. We always ask you for questions, but we want to hear what you have to say as well. So of those 3 games, what are you most excited for in March? Tell us why. We'll read some of your responses on the next episode. Just to sort of get you guys involved. We've got a lot of subscribers recently, and we want to kind of capitalize on that. So if you're listening to this, thank you for listening. And if you're just if you haven't subscribed to us yet, go ahead and do that. You won't miss a single piece of content that we release on the channel. And we really like hearing from you guys. So leave a nice comment, like our videos, and answer my question. What game are you looking forward to most in March? So speaking of March, it's also going to be another big month for the ZB.net. Similar to Nintendo, we've actually also kind of been radio silent the past couple days in February, just because there hasn't been a lot of news to dissect and analyze. People have been super busy, myself included. But as of the beginning of March, we're going to start seeing daily content again. So check out the ZB.net, because we got a lot of fun, cool stuff happening there all the time. We have Rush the Fort as an exclusive Let's Play provider. If you haven't checked out Rush the Fort, please do that. They're playing Kirby Superstar, Katamari Forever, a bunch of stuff right now. And it's all very, very fun and good. And I think that's it. I think I got all my plugs in. Is there anything else I missed? I had already plugged your Smashified series earlier. Nick,
yeah,
are you doing anything at work that you want me to plug? Like, are you writing a nice pamphlet for somebody?
No.
Okay.
No. Thank you.
Actually, incidentally, we released the Android version of Hunger Crunch.
Oh, that's right.
Very recently. So I don't know if people are interested in Hunger Crunch, but if you want to learn more about that, there's going to be a link in the description where you can learn about what that's all about.
Hunger Crunch is really cool, guys. So if you like, don't do any of the stuff that I said to do. At least try to do that because it's a game that Hex worked on. So it's so that's cool. But it's also got a good cause behind it. And I won't spoil it for you now. Go read about it. It's a really good cause, a charity cause. And they could always use your help. And I'm totally behind it. I think it's a very cool idea. So back on topic, as if there ever was a topic. We're going to talk about this is a kind of our main topic. We're already like half an hour into the episode, but we're just going to kind of briefly touch on this a little bit. Since E3 is coming up, I was thinking about this, and we already did our 2015 predictions episode at the end of last year, but I wanted to come back to this a little bit. Games that are not on Wii U yet, like franchises that don't have a presence that we fully expect to by the end of the life cycle, and I want to talk about like what we expect to see from those games, and maybe when they come out. So we made a list. I can't find the list, but some of the franchises are very obvious. So just pick a game and sort of riff on it a little bit. Talk about what you'd like to see on Wii U for that franchise.
Well, I've got the list here, and the first thing on the list is Animal Crossing. And this is something that I'm sort of interested in seeing, just because while Animal Crossing might be a little bit more geared towards portable devices, I always like seeing what they do graphically with the console versions.
I do really want to see this game in HD. It's going to be amazing.
I do, yeah, because like it's typically all about like really crappy textures on T-shirts and things like that. But I do wonder with the Wii U gamepad, what kind of thing you could do with design.
Oh, I can tell you. Have you played Pushmo? Have you played Pushmo on Wii U at all?
I have not played.
I love
Pushmo. Pushmo lets you design your levels using essentially what is pretty much what you would do in Animal Crossing in terms of the grid and how you create the art. I really think it would be identical on Animal Crossing, right down to scanning QR codes the way it works on 3DS. It would probably look amazing.
I hope they have a crappy textures mode, though, for Animal Crossing U, just because I want to see those crappy textures in HD. Their full HD glory.
One other thing that interests me about Animal Crossing is there's always been this desire in the back of my mind to see more of a deeper online integration of some kind. Like, when they released City Folk, I always hoped it would be something where there's like a central hub where you can trade with people and a sort of a server,
like Animal Crossing
kind of
Plaza, the app on the Wii U, where you just see everyone, like something that's would work like that if it was actually an online environment and not just look at these characters running around.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Where it wouldn't be like turning Animal Crossing into an MMO of any kind, but to have one central place where people could in real time interact with each other and trade. And
I think it would be cool to actually have it almost like an MMO in this, but with the option, like you can turn your town on or off online. So like if you don't want to be online, you can just say turn it off. But if you want it to be on, just people can just come in and just visit your town, and they can't mess anything up. It'll be like the dream mode from New Leaf, but they can just like
say that's like the closest they've gotten to it, where you're just a visitor basically.
But they could totally expand upon that by just having, with the capabilities of Wii U, to just be constantly connected online. You can just have it on, and even if your console is off, maybe they can come in and just visit that data that you've created. I
really wouldn't care too much about a Wii U version unless they did something really, really different in integrating the Miiverse Plaza home screen into the game, like very, very deeply, because it just seems very suited to that.
I feel like Animal Crossing is one of those franchises that might lend itself well to the sort of dynamic that you see with a game like Minecraft, where there's like servers that you can collaborate with, like maybe rather than each person having an individual town, you can actually collaborate to build like larger cities together or something like that.
That would be a huge step if they could do it. It would be hard.
It would be.
But I would love to see it.
Yeah. That reminded me of something. This is totally unrelated, but regarding Minecraft, Microsoft owns the rights to that, correct? They would be averse to Tantalus porting Minecraft to Wii U, right?
Well, that's an interesting one because it's still got a PS3 version that's being supported.
But it's also got a next gen version for Xbox One and PS4.
So that's plausible, actually, I think.
Well, here we go. Let the speculation begin. But as for Animal Crossing, I just really want to see this game in HD. That's just something I've always wanted, because for a long time the GameCube version was my favorite, and then like 11 years later, New Leaf came along and supplanted it. But I felt like Animal Crossing never really reached its full potential until New Leaf, and I just want to see that expanded upon because I know they can keep going. The 3DS is limited. The Wii U is unlimited in terms of Animal Crossing, what they can do with it. So there we are.
They added Pokemon items to it because they have every other Nintendo franchise in there.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know. It bugs me. But yeah.
Speaking of Pokemon.
Oh, wow. That was good.
Yep.
Nice job, everybody.
What could they do with a Pokemon game on the Wii U?
What can't they do?
Well, they certainly can't. They can't make a legitimate actual Pokemon game because that would be terrible.
I have some strong thoughts on why it would be terrible and is not the directions that it should take.
I think I'm joking around a little bit because I actually kind of agree with you. I don't think I want to play a main series Pokemon game not on a handheld.
It's the same reason you wouldn't see Pokemon, and I think this sort of is relevant. It's the same reason we see the pinball Virtual Console game for Game Boy Advance, but we're never going to see, or certainly not anytime soon, them release like Fire Red or Leaf Green on the Wii U and that be their solution because you're cutting out so much of the experience and the point of the game. And to a certain degree, and we've seen this with the Coliseum games, it's exactly what happens when you design it for a console. It just like it can't reach the level of the portable. Having that inferior graphical need is really the reason the game is able to get so big. Like if they had to focus on a big screen presentation, well, I don't know if you played Coliseum, it didn't go so well.
I enjoyed Coliseum for what it was, but when playing it, it's like, well, I'm not really capturing wild Pokemon, so it sort of just came off as being kind of derivative. Like you can't do EV training on because they'd really have to go all in, right, to please everybody.
Well, it was fun, right? But it felt like here's what you wanted, but we couldn't give that to you, so here's the next best thing. Like it's not really the same as the handheld games, and that's why people are still always saying, I really want something. But on the opposite side, would that really be that great, just to copy over the portable experience and increase the graphics? I feel like I want more than that.
Yeah, I feel like they'd really have to go all out and do something super... Like, the idea of a Pokemon MMO has kind of drifted around the internet forever, and they've managed to do it successfully. Like, certain people have come together and made Pokemon MMOs. I don't know if that's something Nintendo would be interested in doing. And I don't know.
Well, it is an MMO. I mean, in the truest sense of how you're expected to play that game, it's constantly feeding you other players' information, online trading and battle. It just doesn't have a persistent world, but it has literally every other feature you would expect from a massive online game.
Right. So what they would have to do, I think, to make an effective Wii U Pokemon game would be to do something like totally above and beyond what they've done already. And I just don't know if that's something they're interested in doing when they have such a successful formula on the handheld systems right now.
Yeah. Plus, when you have a game on the Wii U, there's sort of an expectation that the graphics would be like an exponential increase from what you experience in the portable games. But with a game the scale of Pokemon, it's kind of like Animal Crossing, where the Animal Crossing graphics are never on par with other games of the same generation, just because the amount of content in terms of like furniture items and things like that require that the graphics kind of take a hit. And there's other games like that, kind of like Grow Home, which is a Ubisoft game where it's like this massively gigantic world, but because it's so huge, all of the structures have really low poly counts and things like that. So I feel like Pokemon looks better on a portable device, and they wouldn't really be able to live up to that with the kind of fidelity that you'd expect on a console like that.
Yeah, and it's for that reason, knowing all that and just realizing the amount of resources it would take to make a full console game, I prefer they just not and just make another like stadium type game and just
or Pokken Fighters, which we
yeah, I mean that's the closest we're gonna get, right? That looks pretty cool.
If that actually comes to Wii U, which we still don't know.
Yeah, but
it probably will.
That's what I would want to see. If we're talking about how I want it to appear on Wii U, I want Stadium 4 or 5, Battle Revolution 2. It's messed up numbers based on which region, but that's the kind of game I would want to play.
Wait, did you just say Pokemon Stadium 4?
Well, technically,
there's
technically
there's other stadium-like games, even if they're not called Stadium.
It would be there's 3 original Stadium games in the N64, but we only got 2 of them.
Oh, I didn't know about that third one.
Yeah, then there's Battle Revolution, right? That's the same style.
Right. Battle Revolution was terrible, by the way. I don't know if anyone played it.
It wasn't very good.
No, it's like, oh, I can see my Pokemon on the TV, and that was it. Like, the battles were terrible. They had like a bunch of terrible types of battles. I just didn't want to play it after a while. So that's Pokemon on Wii U. Sorry to burst all your bubbles if you were like excited for that, but What else do we have? I said, Paper Mario is one that is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. I don't think this year, but probably next year.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about that kind of thing. I mean, it's something that happens pretty much every generation, right? So
yeah, pretty much. I mean, we had one on 64, GameCube, then 3DS, and then so
plus like Super Paper Mario on the Wii, even if it's not a traditional Paper Mario RPG kind of thing.
Notice how I discounted that one. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I know it's a Paper Mario game, and I'm sure plenty of you love it, but I don't like that game. So deal with it, basically.
Bias.
Well, we're kind of that's what we're paid for. We're paid to be biased.
We're not paid. What are you talking about?
Hey, everyone go click on our advertisements, by the way. Okay, so Paper Mario, I don't know. I don't really have anything to say. I just want it to be. I want it to be 1,000 Year Door.
Old one.
I want it to be 1,000 Year Door, but better.
You think it would be? I mean, it would be closer to that than the last two have been, I think, just because Nintendo would look at those and go, maybe that's not the right path. But I don't know. That they're very stubborn about following the same formula, and they're already doing that with the Mario and Luigi games, and they've been binging on those.
That's true, and those are very good games. I want to see the. I mean, Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story was good, but it was so linear. I felt like there wasn't really a lot of options to do a lot of different types of things. Whereas Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door, there was a ton of stuff to collect. You could go back to other areas, complete missions and tasks, and you go to Glitzville and you just kind of win all the battles and you get money, and it's just like, this is great. And I didn't get that impression with the Mario and Luigi games. They feel a lot more linear, and I just want a more fully fleshed out experience for Paper Mario.
Mm-hmm. And then of course there's F-Zero, which I don't know if there's a lot more to say that we haven't said about that franchise.
About how I don't think it's ever going to happen.
It's sort of dead.
It took Sega to bring that franchise out again, and nothing really since then. So I don't know.
I don't think F-Zero is happening. I'm sorry, I don't think it's happening.
Didn't they comment on this? Didn't they basically say well, that's what? Not that I agree with this, but Nintendo has made comments regarding Mario Kart, replacing the need for F-Zero, which is ridiculous if you've played F-Zero, but that's something they've implied.
They said stuff. They said stuff like it would need to be reinvented in a way that makes using the gamepad worthwhile and stuff like that.
All right, so the same old,
which
rather
is,
than
which
trying
is
to make
ridiculous,
a
by the way.
experience.
That's a ridiculous statement because there's lots of games that don't really use the gamepad, like Donkey Kong, or Mario Kart even doesn't really use the gamepad. So I don't know.
It's just what they say when they don't have an idea on the table and all their teams are doing.
Yeah, they don't have a legitimate excuse, so they're like, it doesn't use the gamepad, so.
Well, recognize that the way they develop games, it's not like they take a franchise and say, okay, so what's next for this franchise? They come up with ideas from a gameplay perspective, and they say, what franchise does this fit with, and how could we use that to expand on the idea? So it's driven by gameplay experiments, not just trying to.
That was actually true for the last F-Zero as well. If you recall, the whole thing there was integration with the arcades.
That's probably what they mean when they say Mario Kart fills the need, because they already have that style of gameplay, like a racing game. It's obviously not super ultra fast, but that's F-Zero. So if they feel like the racing market on their console is already satisfied, which let's be honest,
they went and they added all of the design elements to Mario Kart that were previously distinguishing F-Zero, besides it's more realistic and fast.
The upside down tracks, yeah. And they even have an F-Zero track in Mario Kart, so I don't know how much closer they can even get without making it F-Zero, aside from going super fast.
Right.
So
DLC for Mario Kart, super fast mode, 500cc, go.
Did you guys see that they announced the Ganon DLC for Hyrule Warriors? Have you been following that at all?
I haven't. Ganon, not Ganondorf?
Ganon, the boss that you fight in Hyrule Warriors, Ganon.
Yeah, I saw that, or I read about it. I haven't looked at a new video of it yet.
As playable?
Yeah, it's just going to be ridiculous.
And the chicken, or Cuckoo, whatever.
Yeah, well, the Cuckoo, that's already a Cuckoo. I don't know how do you say that?
Whatever. Chicken.
No.
Yeah, it's chicken.
No,
we'll call
Nick,
it chicken.
it's a Cuckoo.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Not a freaking chicken, okay? It's not a chicken. It's its own species.
So Metroid then.
Nerd alert.
Yeah, I think it's a Zelda.
Oh, what's Metroid? What's Metroid? I haven't played one of those games.
Don't worry, it's just like Kirby.
Well, I don't have a lot to say because I still haven't played the original Prime
I'm Hex,
trilogy,
and I haven't played Metroid Prime, and everyone thinks I'm so cool because I made Rayman, but I haven't even played Metroid Prime, so I don't think we're all that great, really.
All right, let's refocus on games.
Yeah, let's not do some
Nick,
low blows.
do you want to host
here.
this show because this is a really hard job, and I don't think you want to take this over.
No, I'm the guy standing next to you, prodding you.
Okay, all right. So refocusing. I predicted last year that Super Metroid Prime would come to 3DS, and everyone laughed at me, and they were right to do that. But do we think what kind of we know Metroid's going to come to Wii U at some point, right? Because everyone wants it, and I think Nintendo feels that it's an important franchise, even if they've ignored it recently. So what do you think it's going to look
can't,
like?
Skip a generation with Metroid. There's been one since
they did before, but
what did they skip?
Nintendo 64
just was not.
Oh right,
for the party.
that thing.
Because they didn't know what to do.
True.
They were like, really, what do we do?
Metroid Prime was supposed to be an N64 game, right? Or basically the very early preliminary stages of that game, they were going to have it be an N64 game.
Yes, but I don't believe it was Metroid at that time. They had demos for various Metroid games, but my understanding is the Retro team were not making a Metroid game.
Right.
Nintendo came in and was like, now you are.
So anyway, so what do we think? I think a lot of people think it's going to be like Metroid Prime because of the gamepad, the way you can use a first-person perspective on it, and I think that would work. What would really be interesting is if they had like a hybrid third-person, kind of like Other M, and then a first-person view on the gamepad, where you can choose to aim and run and shoot in third person, or you can look via first person through the gamepad at your environment.
They're going to make a helmet peripheral that you put the gamepad in, and so it puts that in front of your eyes like a really cheap Oculus Rift.
Or like the Tiger Electronics U-Force or something, and you just like put it right on your eye like Google Glass.
How do they deal with the fact that we've been presented the screen we look at as looking through Samus's eyes? And the gamepad is now seen as a place where you put the user interface and all of the things that were previously like her visor. So what are they going to do with that if it is a first-person game? It's obviously going to be dual analog. What's the gamepad going to be for? To control all the things that were just on screen before, or to control like your ship? Like, I'm not really sure what they would do.
Well, that's why I find it interesting that maybe you'll have the third-person perspective on screen and then the first-person on gamepad. Because
that's cool, but simultaneously, that wouldn't work for really anybody. You can't swap between those constantly.
But if you had like a targeting system like you do in Ocarina of Time, like you could target something on the screen, or if you're just looking at the gamepad, you could like press the L button and target something, and then and then you would just be aiming at it automatically in the third-person screen. So you could realistically look at the third-person screen, or you could look at the first-person screen.
And then we guess in the first-person screen, that would be the gamepad or the TV?
The first-person screen would be the gamepad.
Okay. So, what's our... Sounds cool. I just wonder, what was our advantage, really, to having both of those views? Like, what cool thing does it do in the gameplay?
Right. Like, what benefit does it give us? Or is it just overcomplicating things for the sake of implementation?
I don't see. This is the difficult thing about predicting stuff like this is I don't really know what path Nintendo would want to take in that.
Here's how I think it's cool. If third person is on the TV, and that's what you're mostly controlling, and then the gamepad sees you not from first person but from above you, as like a ship overhead, like a commander sort of view,
like a Lakitu, like from Super Mario 64.
Yeah, but much higher than that, and almost like when you're in a sniper cam in Call of Duty, but closer than that. But that sort of idea, because you controlled your ship a lot in Metroid Prime 3, so I'm just thinking of them evolving that kind of feature.
That would be interesting too, and like maybe your ship could really, like your ship was an integral part of the experience in Prime 3. Like you did a lot of stuff with your ship, and that would be an interesting way to handle it. But ultimately, I think we just kind of have to wait and see what happens. Like this is probably something they've been working on for a long time. Just because of the nature of the Metroid series and the way that those games play. If you want to integrate the gamepad, you've got to do some really creative things. So I think
Didn't
we'll probably...
say last E3 that they were kind of struggling to come up with something for Metroid? Or was that just like them playing coy? Because I feel like they haven't actually been
that's it.
working on Metroid.
Do you really think they haven't been working on Metroid at all? Like, I feel like that's...
Have you seen the way they work internally is they just basically have, like, a list in general of things to work on, and they only have so much manpower. And there are legitimately ideas where they just come back now and then. They're like, have we done anything with this in a while? We should probably make a game for this. And Metroid, I think, is probably being ignored for the most part, besides the very basic, wouldn't that be cool? That's why they can't make any public comments. They don't have anything to show or talk about it.
I just think that of the projects that and the franchises that they have, that I feel like they have to be prioritizing it by this point, because it's probably, apart from Animal Crossing, the biggest franchise that has not appeared on Wii U.
Well, what's Retro doing, right?
Nobody knows. Probably
always
Metroid.
The biggest mystery.
Probably Metroid, I hope.
Yeah, are they doing Metroid, or are they going to suddenly be like Donkey Kong Returns 3? And people, I would be happy sad at that.
People are going to be very upset if they announce another Donkey Kong. Like, not because the game isn't good. Not because that game isn't good, but because it's like, well, where's Metroid? You know, like, I don't know. I
don't know. I feel bad for Retro being in the position that they're in, because they're the only ones that have touched Metroid in 3D other than Other M. Yeah. So people have this expectation that if Retro is working on something, it has to be Metroid, and there's always disappointment when it's not.
Or Retro.
But I personally want Retro to move beyond what they've already worked on and do something new. So
I do too.
So, I just want a new Metroid. That's all. That's all I want.
Well, let Nintendo actually give it a shot.
It's terrible
because
of me that all I want is a Metroid.
We've seen Team Ninja screw it up, and we've seen Retro do it well. But I want to see what Retro is capable of. So why not give it back to Nintendo for them to do it? Because if Retro is the only other studio that's capable of making a good Metroid game, then, well, why can't Nintendo do it themselves? Because they worked on Metroid in the past.
No faith in Nintendo's ability to make a first-person game in-house, like in one of their Japanese studios, the way that Retro.
But I mean, think of Splatoon. Doesn't that look gorgeous? I mean, it's third person.
It's not a first-person
that game does change my attitude a little bit about their in-house team's ability to do different things than before. I agree. Even if
what if the team that did Splatoon makes a Metroid game?
Well, then we're going to be waiting until 2018. So I'll pass on that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we might.
Is it time for our like 15 minutes of like fawning over Splatoon already? Like, are we going to do this? Then we're going to do it later. But seriously,
we're running out of time for this one.
I think. Well, all right. So we'll kind of move on. We have one more franchise. Is that right? That I wrote down, or is that it?
The only other thing that you wrote down was Mother.
Oh yeah, the Mother remaster that's coming out this year.
That's like a joke. Yeah.
No, it's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Right.
They referenced it at E3 last year. It's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Okay, so everyone's already had their pipe dreams about Pokemon and Metroid and whatever. Let me have Mother remaster. Okay.
Mother remaster. Okay, so
just Mother. So they're just gonna remake the game with better graphics.
It's Mother, Earthbound, and Mother 3 like together. Like it's like the 3DS classics, but on Wii U, like in one package.
I don't know that they would do. What is the gain from that? Like,
look, Nick, if you listen to the podcast, you would know. Okay, I talked about this before.
Well, I know what your personal demand is.
I think it's going to be like a budgety type, maybe just a download only, like Tipping Stars type title, and I think
that's such a big game to localize for that, though. Like, even for how old it is, there's a lot to do. Like, and they can't just take a fan translation, no matter how good it is. They really can't do that.
We'll see. That's all I'm going to say at this point. Like, I don't care how unrealistic it is. I still want it, which is sort of the point.
Cool. It happened, yeah.
But anyway, all right. So one last thing, and this is something that I've been begging forever, that you guys give us user questions that we can answer on the show, and we're finally just going to go ahead and do it. Okay, like we don't have a ton of good questions to answer. But maybe once we answer a good question, it'll inspire you all to write some good questions, and then we'll have a bunch of good questions for you next show, maybe. So this question comes to us from Chaz ZF, our biggest fan in the world, and he liked us before we were cool. So good for you. The question is:
we're cool now?
We have 300. Yes. Well, excuse me, Hex. We have over 300 subscribers. So,
oh man,
I have more subscribers on YouTube than I have friends on Facebook. So,
ooh.
So yeah, pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Question.
I don't remember. I forgot it. The question is, what game do you feel is incredibly underrated and why? he said Mario Party 3 for a variety of reasons. I didn't. I don't have the comment in front of me, so I can't tell you why. But his answer was Mario Party 3, and I said I was talking to Hex before the show about how we should structure this question. I said, well, let's try and limit it to games of like the last 5 to 10 years, because you can go anywhere with the question otherwise. So Hex, did you ever come up with your answer?
Well, you go first. I want to see what you
right.
have to say on this.
Well, my answer is this is a game that like totally flew under the radar, because at this point, a lot of people didn't have the system, and that was Resident Evil Revelations. Did either of you guys play that?
I did not.
Just the demo briefly.
I think the game is probably as close to Resident Evil 4 in the goodness department as any of the games have been in the entire series, barring the first 2 Resident Evil games. It's a return to that like traditional survival horror thing of the first couple games, and although it still has like some like weird Resident Evil 6-ish action portions that suck, the survival horror parts are actually really good, really fun. The game is really scary. I like this. I like the story, which is rare for a Resident Evil game, and it was ported to home consoles, but I feel like it really is best at home on the 3DS, which incidentally did not get the sequel, which I think the first episode just came out. So I love the Resident Evil Revelations game on 3DS, and it's one of my favorite games on the system still. And I would nominate it for any best of 3DS games list. So go ahead, your turn.
Well, here's the issue with me is that I haven't played a lot of games that weren't huge. Like of the few games that I actually have time to play, I choose to spend my money on like the really big hitters. So there aren't a lot of games that I feel didn't get appreciated as much as they should have that I've actually played. I was going to say something like Klonoa just because everyone knows how big of a Klonoa fan I am, but there's another game that hit the Wii that didn't get a lot of accolades or anything, and it's not like a super stellar game, but
I think I know what you're going to say, actually. I think I know.
Yeah.
Is it Zack and
the
Wiki?
game is game is Elebits. I never played Zack and Wiki. I wanted to, but Elebits was a fun game for me, and maybe if I go back and play it, maybe it's actually really crappy, but I had a lot of fun playing it when I was young enough to enjoy games like that weren't big Mario titles. Yeah, so Elebits is my answer, which is probably a crappy answer, but there it is.
It's as good an answer as any. It's interesting. That was a launch title, I think, for Wii, and that was one of those games that I looked at and I'm like, I want to play that someday, and I just never got it for some reason. It was that and Red Steel. I never actually got around to playing it, and Red Steel actually was terrible, but Elebits I'm actually still interested in playing. So maybe one day if I see it, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, go for it. How about you, Nick?
I don't think I have one, really.
There's not a single game
that you feel is underrated?
No, not really. Because most of the time that I buy games where they're not big releases, I don't feel like they're underrated. I'm like, no, this is about what I expected.
You mean that you feel like they suck?
No, like I feel like they're average. Like sometimes a game is just average, and that's fine. But I've never really had a lot of games where it surprised me. Not that I can remember where I liked it a lot, but in general, it wasn't popular or successful, whatever you want to say. So yeah, I don't think I have an answer.
It's funny because when a game kind of doesn't get a lot of sales, but it becomes a cult classic, at that point it sort of becomes overrated because there's all of these really loud fans that are saying that it's amazing, even though maybe it was just kind of mediocre. I
can think of games that I can think of my hipster moment where there's games that I played before they became big, but then they ended up they were underrated for a while. Like Cave Story didn't have attention for a while, but that's pretty much become big. I
think Cave Story only became popular just because of that hack, you know, where you need the thing. I don't know. I don't really know anything about it. There's
maybe. But I'm going like back in time to like when it was just a PC game you downloaded from a website.
Oh yeah.
Systems. So
that's kind of what happened with Grim Fandango, because it just got re-released on PS4. That old like 20-year-old PC game that you can't find anywhere. And now people are finally getting to experience it for the first time.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But I think we're running out of time now. We're over an hour, I think, now.
No, we're not. We're actually not over an hour. No, we're not.
Well, we're good.
I felt like we've been going for 10 hours. So anyway, like I said, as always, guys, leave us your user questions because we had a lot of fun answering that one. At least I did, because I like talking about Resident Evil Revelations. Buy that game, by the way. If you probably get it for cheap. Worth it. So yeah, user questions, we really appreciate them. Positive comments are always nice, better than ones that are saying like weird, stupid things that don't make sense. We had our first like dumb argument on one of our videos the other week, which I was really happy about. Yeah, so dumb comments are also good because they make me realize that we're reaching a larger audience. So anyway, everybody, thanks for listening. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel, Zelda Board TV. We are the ZBN podcast. We've got a lot of other shows, Minish Recap, which is our funny play on words of that. Space Pirate Radio, we're going to be doing more this month. Always check out Hex's channel, Artsy Omni, for his latest Smashified stuff. Check out the ZB.net. Mosey on over to the IGN Zelda board if you feel like becoming a bigger part of our community. You can meet our newest mod, Mr. Chris. And you can taunt him about being a mod, because mods suck. And now I'm just trying to think of something to say. Good night, everybody.
Kill it.
Okay, kill it. Kill it now.
It's dead. It's over.
It's dead.
This is
Never
not
coming
this
back.
This is totally not going to be at the very end, especially not in the hidden annotation. Which, by the way, if you didn't find
did anybody
find
that cat butt pats thing except me? Because I think I'm the only one.
Don't tell them what. Okay, well, it's too late.
Well, it's too late now. The end.